Greater Sandton and beyond. Get ready for the Sandton Times Hour
with your host,
Alexander.
Let's go, ladies and gentlemen, everyone between and beyond. Welcome to the Sandton Times Hour, edition 180. It's week 45 of 2024. And of course, the show is also available on all leading digital audio channels. If you'd like to get in touch, don't forget that you can do so emailing editor@sandtontimes.co.za, connecting on social media @Sandton Times, and also visiting the website www.sandtontimes.co.za. And I always look forward to hearing your questions, your comments, your feedback, your input. Get involved, be part of the community, be part of the Sandton Times Hour Nation, wherever you are in the world. And of course, a very special welcome to everyone listening for the very first time. Of course, those who regularly listen as well, you're also very welcome in Johannesburg and Pretoria, across South Africa and everywhere else in the world, online or on air, wherever you are. I'm happy to report that all is well in Sandton land. And Vincenzo behind the mixing desk once more. Yeah, you might have picked up that I'm looking and sounding a bit exhausted, and November is turning to be... I mean, listen to me talk. I don't even know if I can still talk tonight, but it has been one of those months. It's just that time of the year where everything is happening all at the same time. I actually found myself in bed on Saturday night at 5:15 in the afternoon, and I slept till 6 on Sunday morning. That's just the way things have been going this past 2 weeks. It's relentless. Yeah, I mean, let me give you a bit of an idea, Vincenzo, of what my week looked like. Let me just pull out my diary here. Okay, let's have a look here. I had a brandy launch with some former Springbok players on Monday, and I actually brought some interviews back from that, so I'm going to play that for you just now. Then Tuesday was the launch of Krispy Kreme's new cinnamon rolls, and by the end of the day, I found myself playing a round of croquet on the lawns of 54 on Bath in Rosebank with a lamb slider and a Hendrick's gin in hand. That was Tuesday. Then Wednesday, oh my goodness, so that was back-to-back. There was a Nat Geo programming launch, so they showed us all their latest content that's coming up over the next couple of weeks going into the festive season. And then straight after that, there was a luncheon, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that as well. And then finished the day with the opening of the Stain City Hotel by Saxon in Stain City. And if you've tried to drive to Fourways of late, let me tell you, oh my goodness. I don't know what's going on there, but I don't know. It just needs some intervention. I think every second traffic light is out. I find myself driving to Fourways, I think once or twice this week, and I thought this cannot be true. Surely not. Surely people are not doing this every single day. It's unreal. Unreal. And some of the biggest intersections, some of the biggest routes, no traffic lights working. You've got normal traffic. You've got whoever has got some time in an afternoon directing traffic. I mean, it's unbelievable. It really is unbelievable. And I actually spoke to some business people this week as well, and they were saying that there's a bit of an effort being made to try and take ownership of some of these traffic lights to avoid this constant, I don't know even what you call it. I don't know, traffic lights going out. Traffic light shedding. It's unreal. I mean, doing this every morning and every evening. I feel for the citizens of Fourways, but I think we need to have a look at that in more detail at some point. Thursday, another lunch, and I've also got some content for you on that, some interesting interviews, and then wrapped up on Friday with the opening of another gorgeous Italian restaurant in the heart of Sandton at LXX, and it's called Sin, and I encourage you to go check it out. It really is quite something, quite different, but absolutely delicious. So, I've got a very foodie kind of hour lined up for you this week, and let me tell you who we're talking to. In a bit, I will be catching up with one of our former Springbok captains to chat about the latest business venture that he's found himself in the world of Cape Brandy. Then I caught up with one of South Africa's largest pork producers to understand how their business is expanding, and I encourage you to stay listening for that. After that, I got to meet one of the new executive chefs in Sandton who has taken over the kitchen at NH Sandton, and we had a chat about his plans for the hotel. Then a popular Sandton restaurant has reopened and is now fully halal and is a fully halal fine dining destination. and I managed to find out a bit more about what they're planning to offer. And finally, from donuts to cinnamon rolls, I discover the latest innovation when it comes to a favorite South African sweet treat. All this and more up next on the Sandton Times Hour.
Show some love.
Subscribe, share
Leave a review and rating for the Sandton Times Hour.
on your favorite podcast app now.
You're listening to the Sandton Times Hour.
As mentioned, it's been a busy week for the Sandton Times, which kicked off on Monday with a Cape brandy tasting where I bumped into South African former professional rugby player and former CEO of the Sharks, John Smit. He was there with Butch James to chat about their new Cape brandy venture, and I managed to get some time with him and asked him how he got into the spirits business.
It all happened probably a few months just before World Cup, as close to World Cup as about August in 2023. I bumped into a chap called Rob Haynes. He's built a few alcohol brands, and he came to me and said, look, I've got this idea about a brandy, and I think that the World Cup would be the best time to sort of launch it. I had a look at the numbers, and to be fair, it wasn't the thing that got me across the line. It was really the idea of building something with a whole bunch of other rugby players, both present and past, and starting a brand in a difficult sector. Just to build a brandy in South Africa, which is quite a congested market, would have required some skills and certainly some kind of game plan as well. So it was a massive challenge, and I thought that we had quite a unique offering in terms of the shareholders. So it's wonderful to be able to look at back after almost a year, well, more than a year, and see not just our original product, but new products on the shelf as well. So it's been fantastic so far.
If I hear you correctly, it wasn't just a matter of saying, well, brandy's really popular in South Africa, it's a no-brainer. There was quite a bit of work that went into it, apart from a back-of-the-envelope calculation.
Yeah, there has to be some kind of plan in terms of what you expect to sell, what kind of market you're about to look into, and to who would you appeal to. You know, when you put 15 rugby players together, both past and present, I guess you are trying to attract a certain type of brandy drinker, or I guess person who I guess would associate. And we've seen a lot of these, and I hate to say the word celebrity, but these celebrity brands in terms of the tequila and the gins. I think it's really about the quality of the liquid that you put in the bottle, the price point, and for us it was more reputationally around what was the end product going to be. And when we started with the tastings and we started to understand what a really good VSOP consisted of and the time that it took, and what would end up being the first product on the shelf, that it became a lot easier to make that decision.
Do you feel that professional sports people, especially playing at the level that you guys played at, bring a certain dynamic to the business world when it comes to not just obviously the alcohol industry, but any kind of business?
I think you've got to look at it, and I think I talk about Rob specifically, who put this plan together and thought about sort of getting the rugby players together as shareholders, because it's one thing to be an athlete and be sponsored by a brand and you just get given stuff and you rock up and take a picture, but this was quite different. This was getting rugby players to invest into the capex that it was required to start this business, and I think that really was the key. And there, what you do is you create the reality that is, you see someone driving a car that's for free, you don't necessarily believe that's the best car. But here we've got 15 players, past and present, that have thrown their own money towards a quality brandy that we want to go international, that we want to take Cape brandy around the world. And I think that's really what this is about, is using those profiles of these players and I guess the clout that brings in terms of marketing the brand, but more importantly, what could be created from a global point of view in terms of taking Cape brandy to the world.
Well, you've touched on it now, so I think that leads into the next question, is saying that this is not just a brandy for South Africa, you're also hoping to take this into other markets, and I'm assuming not just South African expats living in Dubai and London and in New Zealand.
Yeah, hope is what the guys that come second say. We have to take it overseas, and it's a good enough quality brandy to be able to introduce to the world. The complexities are not around success of the liquid, it's around us being able to create a business model that allows for overseas markets to want to buy it. So initially we'll require some expat interest, which there's a lot of. South Africans are almost everywhere. If you just have to pull up a stone and you'll find one. But it's around them then educating the restaurants and the pubs and the bars in terms of there's now what's almost like a cognac overseas that you can drink in many other different ways other than just on the rocks.
It's not a one bottle trick. You seem to have a couple of variants that you've brought out. Do you want to just take us through those?
It was important to get off the blocks successfully, and I think that's where the VSOP came into the play. So that means it has to be in the barrel for more than 7 years, and the blend is really important to be able to be called a VSOP. So that was sort of the first kick had to go through the polls, and that's where we've been fortunate with the VSOP. It really has hit the market nicely, sold nicely. There's been a great demand, and so having stock problems is always a great thing for a startup brand, especially in the liquor business. So we then decided to do a Founders 15, which is really starting to test the nerves of all those cognacs out there that are very highly priced, and we've brought out one that's 15 years, but that represents the 15 founding shareholders that started with VSOP Avante. So there's a VS that's coming as well. So it's the success of the brand so far, I guess, is because of the variants that you're starting to see pop up.
As a former sports player, it's clearly been an important move for you to start setting up businesses outside of your sporting career, because you have a certain time period in which you can peak and perform and do all that you do, but at some point that comes to an end and you have to live a life beyond your days on the rugby field. Apart from the brandy, have you looked into other businesses, invested in other businesses, started up anything else in any other markets?
Just remember, I was last a rugby player 12 years ago, so I've been
Wow.
I've been out of the game for 12 years. So yes, I've been fortunate to have had a really fantastic post-rugby career. So transition normally can be tough for a lot of guys because it's just such a dream to be able to play the sport that you love for a living. But I always loved doing different things. I started a whole bunch of businesses when I was bought into some businesses, the usual coffee shop that failed, and then got into a restaurant that worked, and started to figure out the lessons of business and what things work. Car industry, I played a bit in the car industry while I was a player, and then 5 years ago got involved with a services business. So we have a private security business, facilities cleaning. We've been involved with that for the last 5 years. So that, as well as coffee, we started coffee during COVID. That seemed like the right thing to do when we were locked up, is to think about a blend. And so there's a number of things that I've found super interesting after rugby.
The brand isn't just South African rugby players, but as I understand, there's rugby players from around the world. So this has actually already got a bit of an international appeal.
I think that's the beauty of rugby, in terms of it's absolute warfare for 80 minutes, and then afterwards you go and have a drink with the opposition in their change room. And because of this kind of camaraderie and competitiveness, to this day I've got some fantastic friends that I played against and absolutely hated when we were playing against each other. The likes of George Cregan, Justin Marshall, Jim Hamilton, and these guys have now come on board and joined in this sort of story of Avante, and that I think is what will be the success of us becoming the first successful Cape brandy to enter the international world.
That was former Rugby World Cup winning captain and the most capped South African player ever, John Smit, chatting to me about Avante brandy. A quick break, and I'll catch up with you on the other side of this.
You're listening to the Sandton Times Hour.
I had a chance to tour one of the now many ESKORT dedicated stores selling a range of pork products, from those all-time favorites like streaky bacon and ribs to some of their more innovative products. And I bumped into marketing director Marcelle Pienaar and asked her to tell me a bit more about how the business was competing and growing.
ESKORT is South Africa's biggest pork producer, and we have been around for 107 years. So we've been providing South Africa with pork meat for the last 107 years. The company was found in 1917 on the bank of a river in KZN by 9 farmers. And today, we're a national company. We've got 26 ESKORT stores. We provide products to big retailers on a national level, and today in our ESKORT stores we've expanded the business to over 300 product lines, so showing people really the value and the offering that pork can provide.
Let's just talk about the stores, because it's quite an interesting move. I mean, you already were distributing through normal grocery shops, through supermarkets. I mean, it's a brand that people have seen. And then there was a decision to move into your own stores. What motivated that?
So essentially it started off with our 2 factory stores next to our factory, so in Heidelberg and ESKORT. But essentially, over time, you need to balance the carcass. So we can't only make certain products. You need to make fresh meat products. So certain cuts of the pig that wasn't used was used for different products, which you couldn't necessarily sell in retail. So we had to find our own outlets to sell these products. And over time, we just started expanding the range of products and realized that there's such a big market for, a variety of these pork cuts. And over time, we started opening up stores, and the offering is so wide that people find it valuable to come to our stores, not only because of the value of the product, but because of the range that you can find here, which you can't find anywhere else. In national retail, you can, find up to 40 ESKORT products, but in the store, like I said, 300 different, a variety of 300 different lines.
And you're looking to close out the year on 30 stores?
Absolutely. So we are opening up 4 more stores in November. So we are opening up in Alberton, Umhlanga, Amanzimtoti, and in George.
The pork category is an interesting one. I think you mentioned during our little walkabout that we were doing in the store today that it's sort of in 4th place in terms of proteins. A bit unusual in terms of what the global sort of standard or trend is in terms of pork.
100%. So internationally, pork is the most consumed meat protein, except in our country, it's really not the case. So think of other countries, China, Brazil, Germany. It's such a big protein and such a big staple. However, in our country, unfortunately, there's a lot of misconceptions around pork. We actually, in the moment, have a promotion in our stores to try and educate people around pork about the fact that it is such a good lean meat protein. It's often perceived that it's a fatty meat where you find beautiful cuts that is lean protein that's absolutely perfect for a healthy, balanced lifestyle diet. Clean, quality meat. I think that is what ESKORT stands for. Have all the health standards in place, and we can hang our hat on the fact that for 107 years we focus on making sure that the best quality pork reaches our consumers and ends up on your plate.
There's obviously stock standard stuff that's very popular. I mean, your sausages, your bacon, these are the sort of things that people sort of know you for. But there's also been quite a bit of innovation that's happened over time now. You've brought out products for your air fryer, so ready meals. You showed us your very successful sort of snack or braai packs that you've got. What's driving a lot of that innovation? Where's that information coming from that's driving some of these ideas?
It's consumer trends and the shopping patterns that we're seeing and how people are consuming food and their time. So the biggest issue with consumers at the moment, the 2 things that they're desperately in need of is time and value for money. And that's really what we center a lot of our innovation around, is creating convenient products for our consumers. We know that families don't have the time they used to, so families are looking for easy meal solutions. The air fryer is popular for a reason, and we need to make sure that we've got products that's suitable, to those needs. So we innovate a lot within like our air fryer ranges, ready to eat meals. But we also make sure that we've got a lot of convenient products that you can also just pop in the air fryer in the oven, be it pork schnitzels or pork crumb strips, our fricadelles. It's really anything that you can make in a short space of time.
Another interesting thing that you pointed out was these hampers that you've got, and how they're not just sort of a pack that people buy and obviously get a variety of different products, but people have also leveraged this in certain sectors of the economy as an opportunity to build a business.
Absolutely. So a hamper is essentially a combination of our product, and then we sell it at a preferential price to them, because you sell it as a bulk pack essentially. And some families often just use it as a bulk purchase at home that will last them a month or whatever required time. But the most important thing is that actually these hampers are being picked up and used to resell. So people take them apart and sell them off individually, the individual product, and add a little margin onto the product. So the benefit of the reduced cost of buying it in a hamper is now put on top of the price, and they can make a small business from it. So we often find that our hampers is becoming a small business driver for your people in local communities.
Christmas is just around the corner. What are some of your plans for Christmas 2024?
Yeah, Christmas for us absolutely is, a big festive time, and what better to have a gammon on your Christmas table. but also a lot of our innovation sits within the space, within our fresh meats. So we make a porchetta, which is a rolled belly wrapped in bacon. We also make a prime rib roast, of course the traditional gammon, but also we're creating braai packs this festive season. So in your braai pack, it's a combination of rashers and pork chops and puri. So this festive season especially, we're encouraging people to light up the fires and braai pork meat and be open to changing it up a little, because there are so many amazing pork products, whether it's rumps or fillets or sirloins or ribeyes. We've got it all.
ESKORT Marketing Director Marcelle Pienaar chatting to me about the business and the expansion plans for their dedicated stores. More of the Sandton Times Hour right after this. Don't go anywhere.
Connect with the Sandton Times. Email editor@sandtontimes.co.za.
As we get into the second half of the Sandton Times Hour, don't forget that if you caught something intriguing during the show but you missed some of the details, don't worry. Head over to www.sandtontimes.co.za, bookmark it and make it part of your regular reading, and there you can explore the comprehensive show notes, a breakdown of all the highlights and some more links and further reading for you to enjoy. And also, don't forget to connect with the Sandton Times on social media at Sandton Times, whatever your preferred social media platform is, and join the conversation and be part of the community. Well, this week also saw the introduction of a new GM and executive chef at NH Sandton, which was formerly the Hilton in Sandton. And after a change of branding and operations at the hotel in the middle of 2024, the team has been working hard in the background to bring this new direction for the property to life. And I had a chance to catch up with the new executive chef at NH Sandton, Chef Donaldson Madubela, and asked him how he got started in the kitchen.
I started off my career in Franschhoek back in 2004. I was a trainee there for 3 years with International Hotel School. And then when I finished my course, I moved up to Joburg. I think I got homesick. And then I worked at Mount Grace for about 3.5 years. It was really nice. I left Mount Grace, I went back to Cape Town again, and I missed Cape Town. I think Cape Town is the capital city of food in South Africa. So I moved back to Cape Town and I landed at Arabella. I did about 2.5 years there. It was really nice. And then I went, and then I think as a chef, at some point in your life, you realize that what is it that you really want to do. I sort of got an idea that, I've done sort of big banquetings and whatnot, and I wanted to do a bit more personalized services. So I then went to join a Royal Portfolio, which is in Franschhoek at La Residence. I wasn't long there because the GM that was there, we worked quite well together. He took me under his wings, and I landed in the Seychelles at North Island, and I had amazing 4 years with North Island. This is the most exclusive property in the world, with only 11 villas. We did something like what we did today, where the food was passed around. You could literally go and speak to the guests and design the menus what they prefer. And I think, after 4 years, I thought to myself, I've done exactly what I wanted to do. I then joined the Minor Properties or Minor International. And that's where basically I ended up at Bazaruto Island in Mozambique. I had a very good, successful 3.5 years there, where we did a lot of things, sushi to whatever that you're seeing today here. It's basically the spread that we did at Bazaruto, theme nights, chef's table, food that is cooked on a salt block. It was very fun, and then COVID happened. I decided that I wanted to venture into something a little bit more different. I then found myself with 4 seasons at the Roche. And the Roche, in the Seychelles again, offer something different. They had over 85 villas, the home villas, homeowners, and then you've got the hotels villas. So again, it's still more personalized services, so it fits directly into what I wanted to do. And I sort of, enjoyed that as well for about 2 years. And then I moved to the Maldives, which, we did a pre-opening with Nui, which is never odd or even. It's a brand from Australia. And we did a pre-opening there. I did about 7 months. We never got to sort of open it. And I thought, I can't just waste my career here. And then I moved back to South Africa, and I ended up being at 54 on Bath, which was really awesome, before I joined NH Sandton.
So what brings you to Sandton? A lot of people would say, well, the Maldives and the Seychelles sounds like a way more exotic place to be than
Absolutely.
Africa's richest square mile.
Absolutely. Look, I mean, like you said, it's the richest square mile in Africa. Having been in a Rosebank myself, I just spent over a year and a half at 54 in Bath, which was really good. But I think it's time that we sort of up it up a bit, where you get to experience it with different type of offering. I may have been sort of limited at 54 in Bath, whereas here we've got over 4 different types of restaurants, and that allows me to obviously express myself even more better.
Right. So let's get into some of the things you're going to be offering here, because this used to be a Hilton. It then changed to NH Sandton halfway through this year.
Yep.
New brand, same hotel, different team involved, different GM. Now you're looking after the kitchen. What are you going to bring into this now to start bringing in that differentiator from what people knew this property to be?
Yeah. Look, I think when I got here, during the interviews in terms of the team trying to bring myself here, you get to reflect as to who you are and what kind of food you get to offer. And I think, if you look at what the property used to do before, it's more based on banqueting, and that's what I think people focuses on. But I mean, we've got an amazing restaurant here, which, gives you a better direction and a better feeling as to, what you can offer. And myself have been to travel around the world with the experience that I've gained. We bring in something that is fresh, something that is more exciting, something that is, not limited. Within a Trade Winds restaurant, you basically have 2 restaurants. You have your teppanyaki, which is something that has been closed for many years, and having to do that in the Maldives, there's nothing that gets more exciting than having to reopen it and do exactly what the world is offering out there. Plus, I come from Ireland, and that's what I've done in the last 12 years. I want to bring that back to South Africa, where I get an opportunity to offer it in such an iconic place.
Apart from the teppanyaki, apart from the Trade Winds restaurant that you've got, what else are you looking to bring back online? Are we looking at high teas? Are we looking at chef's tables? What is that going to look like?
Absolutely. There's no better place to do a high tea right in the heart of Sandton. We are going to be doing the high teas in a bigger scale. We are going to be doing a chef's table in the kitchen. I've got I must say that one of the few chefs that has a bigger kitchen in Johannesburg, or even in Sandton, and that makes me proud to say, let me just lay out all the offerings that we can do, and we're most certainly going to do the chef's table, and we're going to do it in the kitchen in a bigger volume rather than what I used to do before.
And you also mentioned there's a bit of a focus on seafood that you want to bring into the restaurant as well.
Yeah, I think if you look at Joburg on its own, you get a lot of steakhouse restaurants where people are offering dry aged meats. I wouldn't exclude myself from that. Excuse me, but I think there's that element that we are in South Africa. We've got such an amazing product, and in Joburg we do a lot of meat, game meat. Whether it's kudus, venisons, and all of that, but there's also an opportunity to break through. I mean, we into our new menu now. We've got a fresh mussels from Saldanha Bay. You've got an octopus that is coming from Cape Town. You've got a fresh tuna that delivers every second day. So that's something that we want to introduce to Joburg people, to say, look, here is a place, an iconic place that we can able to do all this amazing food, but let's focus on the seafood.
That was Executive Chef at NH Sandton, Chef Donaldson Madubela, and I must say, from what I've tasted, I'm sure some of his new dining plans for the hotel will not disappoint.
The best of Sandton and beyond.
You're listening to the Sandton Times Hour.
We stay with all things food in Sandton, and a very popular dining destination, Pigalle, has seen a change of ownership and is now called Pigalle by Villamoura. The restaurant had its official reopening this week as a fully halal destination, and I managed to catch up with the new owner, Javed Gani. He has some successful businesses in Dubai, and I kicked off our chat asking him a bit more about these.
So we run the largest South African ranged products in the world outside of South Africa. We have branches across the UAE, we have a branch in Canada, and we're opening soon in London. So we have a grocery business, We carry over 11,000 SKU items. We have a Hyperama Diner, it's called Hyperama. Then we have the diner business, which is called Hyperama Diner, which serves over 250 authentic South African meals. Aside that, we have a meat business, meat processing business called Lekker Meat Shop. We do boerewors, sausages, biltong. So all the countries we operate in, we have these 3 brands. And now we're launching Villamoura in Dubai next month. Our flagship store opens. But in between all of that, this deal happened. So we took over Pigalle, and it will now be called Pigalle by Villamoura.
The South African retail FMCG business that you've got running around the world, servicing, I'm assuming, mostly South African expats.
At least half our customers are South Africans.
Desperate for a braai.
Correct.
Okay, that's incredible. And how has that business grown? Have you seen more and more South Africans?
It's grown drastically. We've had huge growth. We host all the current president, Cyril Ramaphosa, the former presidents. We host a lot of dignitaries from South Africa at all our different businesses.
Amazing. So you've now taken over the iconic Pigalle in the Michelangelo Towers, or the Michelangelo Tower malls in Sandton.
Correct.
What was the sort of the idea behind that? What brought this about?
So, in Dubai, all the business, or a majority of the fine dining in Dubai is alcohol free. So there's no alcohol in the restaurants. They're all halal. There's always been this myth that a fine dining restaurant will never survive in South Africa without alcohol. When the Pigalle had a bit of an issue recently where they were serving pork on the menu here. And when that happened, the Muslim community stopped supporting Pigalles because of the pork dish. And that created an opportunity in the sense that the owner of Pigalle is a good friend of mine. And he said to me, "You're opening in Dubai, would you consider creating a branch here of the Dubai brand and you take over the existing Pigalle?" And I mean, we all grew up eating Pigalles. So it was a gift. And I then delayed my Dubai opening so that we could come and open here first. And next month we'll launch in Dubai.
Well, the business is called Pigalle by Villamoura, and Villamoura is also a very iconic restaurant name in Sandton. It was part of the Sandton Sun complex.
Correct.
What brought about the idea of combining those two names?
So Villamoura, because of it being an iconic seafood brand, it's like the groceries. My business is called Hyperama.
Yes.
The Villamoura brand originally was sold by the same founder of Pigalles. He owned Villamoura back in the day, and he sold it. And that listed company didn't make it. They basically shut down. So the IP became available. And I managed to acquire the original Villamoura IP. And that's how we've now created the Villamoura brand, basically. Reigniting it and hoping to reignite the nostalgia that people have for the original seafood brand of Villamoura, basically.
The interior of the restaurant hasn't changed, but as you've already alluded, there are some things that are different. And you mentioned there's obviously not going to be any alcohol because it is a halal restaurant.
Correct.
But what else can people expect to still see that they remember, and what will be different?
So the decor has just been upgraded. We've added a huge range of mocktails. We've added sushi. And in addition to all the existing Pigalle meals are still there for the people that loved it. And we've added a few Dubai flavored items like your chicken, chili prawns, some steaks. We've added a different range of products, and we're going to be doing shisha, the habli. We have a smoking room where we'll be having the shisha and smoking section available for people.
And you're obviously very confident that there is a big enough market to make fine dining in terms of a halal certified restaurant possible in Sandton.
Most definitely. I mean, people don't drive far anymore. People that who drink often, they want to drive short distances because of now the way the laws are clamping down on drink and driving. So there's a very few people that would drive from Bryanston, Four Ways, all the way to Sandton to have a drink. They would go to closer places, and that creates the opportunity that people that visit the mall, not necessarily visiting the mall for alcohol.
For sure. Always a difficult question, but if you had to pick your favorite dish on the menu, which one would it be?
Pigalle prawns.
Is that still the original dish? And are there still any other original dishes on the menu?
Every single dish that originated here besides the pork. Everything else is here. The same staff are here, the same chefs, everybody is here.
When does business kick open for you?
We open on Friday the 1st, officially to the public. We have a host of Dubai film stars that will be joining us for the opening weekend. So all the patrons that have booked to dine with the stars, we actually fully booked Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We have over 2,000 people that have booked between the opening weekend days. So we're hoping to be a huge success.
That was the new owner of Pigalle by Villamoura, Javed Gani, and I must tell you, the food was truly exquisite.
The best of talk and music in 1 hour. This is the Sandton Times Hour.
Many listening might have indulged in a Krispy Kreme donut once or thrice, and you'll be interested to know that they've now brought out a cinnamon roll exclusive to their Rosebank branch. I headed out for a bit of a pre-tasting of this new offering and caught up with the managing director of Krispy Kreme South Africa, Gerry Thomas, and asked him how the business has been doing, having been going in South Africa for just over 9 years.
Good. Expansion nationally into Gauteng, KZN, Western Cape. Bit of a wobbly over COVID and on the road to recovery now and gaining market share, going to grow into other regions in the next couple of years, medium term, and eventually be represented in the whole of South Africa.
How have donuts as a convenience snack or treat been received in South Africa?
Great question. We're a bit more than about donuts. We're a sharing occasion. We're a default for occasion, celebrations and memories, making memories. So it's about donuts being the sweet treat of choice, and, defaulting into those occasions. And then in terms of innovation and being able to manufacture donuts for special occasions, Christmas, Valentine's, birthdays, gender reveals, etc., we've made it a whole category on its own. So donuts were not a big category when we came in, and we've taken ownership of that, but more from an occasions and celebrations point of view.
And if you had to split up the business in terms of your original and your classic donuts versus your novelty donuts like Halloween, Easter, Christmas, some of the South African versions we've seen in variants, what would you say that split is in terms of popularity?
Our iconic original glaze, we're about 30% of our donut sales, very important. That's our signature product, hard to replicate, been going for 88 years, nothing's changed. And then you got the core donuts, which stay on the menu all the time, South African versions, milk tart, bar one, peppermint crisp, always there, stable, very well patronized. And then the innovations come in about a month to 6 week periods, and they generate roughly 20% of sales at the time. So you need to keep our product top of mind, and innovation is fundamental to the business.
Has South Africa aligned very closely with trends around the world, or is there some quirks and some unusual things that you've seen in the South African market that you wouldn't expect to see anywhere else?
So what we do is ideally we take best practice from around the world, what works, we bring it in here, we replicate it and we South Africanize it if need be, but we're very steadfast also in doing our own. So I'd say it's a marriage of the best of both worlds, and we try have our donut and eat it.
Very nice. This expansion now, or this evolution into a cinnamon roll in your Rosebank flagship store.
Yes.
How did that come about?
So number one is to highlight the Rosebank store being a hot light store where you can get hot product off the line, fresh, made in front of the consumer. That's a big point of difference in the Krispy Kreme world, especially when you're talking about other global donut brands. And the cinnamon roll is a new innovation just to keep the product top of mind, this hot light shop top of mind. It's a handmade product, labor intensive, so a lot of tender loving care goes into it. And the idea is to just get something new and novel into all our hot light shops, starting off here in Gauteng and then taking it through to the KZN, to the Western Cape. Sundays, early mornings, in the old days when it was all about getting to the bakery early, fresh, being the first one before product sells out. We make fresh product, so we do sell out, and it's to create that hype again and get that Sunday family breakfast sweet treat vibe going.
Just to clarify, those cinnamon rolls are hand rolled, so they're not come off some production line. They're literally made one by one.
So it's our proprietary donut mix. It's the same as original glazed. It's hand rolled. Then it goes into the proofer for half an hour. It rises, so a lot of air. It's not doughy in terms of the traditional cinnamon roll. And then so hand rolled, cut by hand, proofed, through the machine.
And this is something that's been done internationally as well, that you've sort of brought into the South African market.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, amazing.
Yeah.
Expansion plans for the brand? I mean, you've already got a pretty impressive footprint, and I mean, your distribution is quite wide-reaching compared to a lot of other, I'd say, treats in this category.
Yeah.
What is 2025 looking like for you?
So we're looking to expand. We're looking to put a production hub in George to take care of the Southern Cape. Obviously so that would be the production hub with a couple of shops in and around the area. Following that, we need to be in Mpumalanga, we need to be in the Free State, and we need to be in the Eastern Cape, so that will be a couple of years after that. But George is the priority for next year.
In terms of your regional split, where are the biggest Krispy Kreme fans at the moment?
Gauteng.
Amazing.
Gauteng, just from the economic hub, Johannesburg, Tshwane region. Western Cape is gaining a lot of traction just due to the fact that the economy there is on an upward trajectory, the whole tourism market there. And KZN on the road to recovery after a couple of tough years in the province.
I know this is like asking a parent who their favorite child is, but if you pick a donut, any donut, which one would be yours?
Original glazed every day. Basic, hot off the line, iconic, unique, been going for 88 years, can't beat it.
That was Managing Director of Krispy Kreme South Africa, Gerry Thomas. And if you managed to grab a cinnamon roll this weekend, I'd be keen to hear from you what you thought. And with that, it's all we have time for this week on the Sandton Times Hour. As always, available as a podcast on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Podcast Party, Jollof Radio, and so many other leading digital audio platforms. As always, let me remind you, if you want to get in touch, email editor@sandtontimes.co.za, connect on social media @Sandton Times, and hop onto the website www.sandtontimes.co.za. And of course, you can always pick it up on the Listen app as well if you haven't downloaded it yet. Thank you to all our guests who made the time to be on the show this week and who make themselves available for all these great interviews. And thanks to the team behind the scenes that pull it all together, make it all happen, and make sure that we can do this for you every single week and keep the information flowing. Thank you for listening, and God willing, we'll do it all again next week.
That's it for this week. Thanks for listening to the Sandton Times Hour. And if you enjoyed it, be sure to share it.